Hope FM.
Problem time, no sleeping business. Your voice, my fire. So that we got you. Every sticking on the line, it's no kiss. I beg to differ, my people. If it's not correct, we got to come so. From 9 o'clock till 12 midnight, we sitting here, we ready to fight. No palava, no fear inside. Truth must talk, we not go hide. What is the done to go? Bring that sense. Ready to trust me, turn up sense. I must write it up and play. Underneath the guys, we make it think fair. Claudia still, strong woman, yeah. If you run, she go.
Oh, yes, indeed. We'd like to say good evening and welcome. This is Top 105.3, the official voice of Teach Our People Communication Incorporated. We broadcast to you live and direct from Zweju, Grand Jeda County, Republic of Liberia. Today is June 18, 2026. I'd like to say good evening to our regular listeners out there and welcome on the program. I beg to differ. It simply means you don't have to agree with me and I don't have to agree with you. But the fact that we need to come to one conclusion here when it comes to the growth and development of Grand Jeda Liberia and our one global village, I would like to say sorry for coming in late, but however, we thank God that we are here. We'd like to say good evening to Mr. George H. Nemo is already on the platform. We'd like to say good evening to J.M. Caxil. We'd like to say thanks for our panelists and we wait the other panelists to join us. But before we open the phone lines, let's go over to our panelists. Let them speak to our people. Mr. George H. Numo would like to say good evening and welcome. Speak to your listeners and followers.
Good evening to you, Chris. Good evening to panelist Cassell. Good evening to the listeners. And I'm glad to be back today. And I hope we have a nice discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. George H. Numo. Thank you. It's a pleasure also again to be back here. Happy to meet you and I'm glad to be with you. Let's go over to J. M. and Caxio. Good evening and welcome, sir.
Yeah, Chris, how you doing? Hi, Mr. Nubo. Glad to see you back. Nice to be here, and looking forward to a very spirited discussion today, and looking for some interaction from the listeners out there as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, it's back to you, Chris.
So new link. There was the wrong link. I don't know why they just send the links.
I got it.
So this is the right link I sent you.
I'm on already. I saw it. I'm on already. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm on with Mr. Nubo.
President George W.
Well, Veteran Smith got it wrong link.
Hold on one second.
What is it saying?
I want to straighten my lights.
Okay. Okay.
Oh no.
What a day, what a day, what a mighty good day. Bonjour, bonsoir, good, hello, good evening, good afternoon. How are you guys doing? Can you people comprendre moi?
We're doing okay. How about you?
I'm doing very bien. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Mr. Sato, how you doing today, sir?
I'm good though. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Okay. So we're a little bit behind time, but it's all right. It's all good. We're starting at 5:30 today. Good thing we got a full house. That is great. And we have one of our own, Mr. Boniface Sato, who is no stranger to this platform. And so we are much, much more excited to have him once again. Mr. Boniface Sato, you need no need to welcome you again, but we got to do it because of the tradition. So welcome to Top FM 105.3 on the platform. I beg to differ. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We are live on the radio. We're also live on our website, www.topfm.com. We're live on Facebook and we're live on YouTube. As part of the program, we're going to go 1 hour into the program and then we're going to break and go to the lines. And we're going to take calls. And when we come back, we'll have you respond to the callers. And also, we do have a large pool of panelists. So as they trickle into the studio, we will have them introduce themselves to you. Having said that, I am Archie Wright. I'm going to be your host. And now I will go around the table and I'll have all my other panelists introduce themselves to you, including our producer for the night, Mr. Chris B. Wick. Mr. Nubo, please introduce yourself to the guests. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Satu. This is George Numbo, one of the panelists. Welcome back to I Beg to Differ. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. George H. Nubo. Let's go to you, Mr. Joe Gamonde Cassell.
Where you got that name from? Where that Gamanda come from?
I thought I heard you say that some time ago.
No, Joe Monu Cassell.
Go Monu. Gosh. Okay, my
There
bad.
you go.
I will never forget that. Mr.
Unless
Joe
you
Monu
want to give me
Cassell.
a new name. Mr. Satu, how you doing today?
I'm good.
I just mentioned my name. I'm a small businessman who lives on the west coast of the United States, but always in Liberia. I think we met a couple of times when we live in the same area in Boys Town Junction. So it's a pleasure meeting you, and hopefully we'll have a very spirited discussion. I see you're a very prolific writer, and I've read some of your articles. So this is a perfect platform to ask you some questions about some of the articles you've written. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cassell. Let's go to you, Mr. Chris Beware. Please introduce yourself to the guests.
Okay, Mr. Setu would like to say welcome. My name is Chris Beware. I'm one of the producer sitting in studio in Liberia. So we'd like to say welcome. Thanks so much for coming up.
Thank you, Mr. Chris Beware. Now we'll go to Mr. Fred Veteran Smith. He'll introduce himself. Now he'll probably give it back to you, Mr. Satu, to introduce yourself, or he can do it for you, however way you guys like it. And then he will begin the questioning for us. Mr. Veteran Smith.
Yes. Good. Let me wear my glasses. Good evening to our fellow listeners. My name is Fred Veteran Smith, no stranger to the media. And so I won't like talk much about myself. That's what I do best. So let me welcome officially our special guest. He's not a stranger to us, and he's not a stranger to the social media with his writing skills, and a former director for the my thoughts are not together. Former director for the road funds, for the road funds, and now he have turned his knowledge and economic. He have served in a lot of capacity, like and he will talk more about that. But he's someone who have financial background, and he loves to write. And he have a platform called Digest, where people exchange ideas. And so that's why he's here today, because one of the articles he wrote caught my attention. He have written a lot of articles, but this one caught my attention. When politics become permanent warfare, how CDC, UP rivalry is affecting development and governance in Liberia. So on that note, I will turn it over to our special guest, Bonifay D. Satu. Welcome to Top FM 105.3 FM. I beg to differ. Stranger. So anything you would like to add about your resume, you can do that. Other than that, let's get into the subject matter.
First, I want to say thank you to the panelists for inviting me to your program. It's good to see my brother Jim Cassett. I remember years back was trying to go back to Liberia. Mr. Cassett was Mr. Cassett was strongly trying to recruit me to get back to Liberia. And we're also part of the Marshall family in Liberia. And my good friend, George Noble, I hope we can have a friendly conversation today. And the veteran and my brother Chris and the host. It's a pleasure being here. I need not introduce myself. You have done remarkably well in introducing me. So the main thing that I would like to present today will be looking at my platform, which is the Reader Digest Commentary Network, a platform that is used to analyze information and provide policy direction. So it's a pleasure being here, and I look forward to a civil conversation today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bonifay Satu, for that brief introduction. My question to you, before we get into deeper question, You have written a lot of articles and you have a good platform. Why this? How you got to write on this subject matter? How it all developed? Because writer always start from somewhere and go somewhere. At what point you have written a lot of articles, but at what point you decided to write when politics become prominent warfare? CDC and Uber rivalry is affecting development and governance in Liberia. How did you derive at this topic? What were you going through as a writer? Take us through that journey.
Good question. I wonder you can hear me because I don't think I'm hearing myself through the radio.
No, we're hearing you. We're hearing you.
Yeah, but I'm not hearing myself. It kind of thing. Okay, but okay, I'm good. Okay, briefly, normally, like any other person would do, ideas flow, and my attention got caught up with the current situation with the drug situation in Liberia. And going through the internet, I saw a lot of comments, and that struck me. So I said, hey, what's going on? And I followed subsequent conversations on the internet. And majority of the time, I realized that there was always this confrontation with regards to Unity Party here, CDC here, and looking at the drug situation. And I thought it was something that needed for us to further discuss as Liberians. So that's why I decided to put this attitude together to present my own side of the story, because I think when it comes to the drug issue, I think it's a national issue. It is not a political party issue. It is not a specific individual issue, because we know the effect of drugs. And, so for the kind of way the drugs came into our country, we know it's a national issue, and I expect everybody to rally around when it comes to national issue. I believe in country first. So it struck me to develop the topic that I developed, and the topic is when politics become permanent warfare, how the CDC and Unity Party rivalry is affecting development and governance. That was struck my mind to develop this topic.
Thank you for bringing that brief response to the question. But was there any specific development projects, or you went through many in your research, many developmental projects that you saw being affected by the rivalry between these two political giants?
Okay, first, Liberia has become proficient at changing governments. But the more important question is whether we have become equally proficient at changing outcomes. And the concern is not only healthy political competition. Democracy requires competition. The concern is when political competition evolves into permanent warfare that consumes national attention and undermine development. And if you follow most of the conversation on our internet today, it's always Unity Party here, CDC here. When you talk about, we all know government is continuity. When government started, one CDC said, no, we didn't want to start this. When the other one said, no. So to me, it's not healthy for our society. We all grew up in this society. And I will give you a typical example of the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration. During the Ellen Johnson administration, we saw all the political parties around, but we didn't see the kind of rivalry that is occurring in our society. I think it's more divisive. Yes, it's good for political parties to question or to hold the governing administration for accountability, but it's also important that when it comes to national issue, we should give governance space. Typical example with the drug issue, like I mentioned with the drug issue. Don't you think looking at the drug situation where you have international people participating in that particular process and be affected, don't you think it's something that should draw concern to all Liberians, that we can come together to see how we can resolve it and blaming CDC and then blaming Unity Party? I think we need to gravitate over that kind of politics, because politics is about exchange of ideas. It is not exchange of fight. It is not an exchange where you put party over country. And I do believe that has been the trend in our country, and I think we need to grow beyond that. That's why I focus my team on a constant political warfare with CDC and Unity Party.
Could you help us? This is my last question. When it comes to warfare, I know most people hear warfare, physical, but there's a different type of warfare you are describing. Can you be more detailed in explaining the type of warfare that is hampering the development and the governance of Liberia?
Okay. What do I mean by permanent political warfare? Permanent political warfare occurs when political parties remain in campaign mood, even after elections is over. Instead of focusing on governance, development, and problem solving, national discussion becomes dominated by political attacks, counterattacks, accusations, and retaliations. As a result, public policy often takes a backseat to political conflict. That's what I mean by political war. That's what I mean by permanent political warfare. And I think you and I can attest to that. Our country is going through a constant political warfare with both CDC and the Unity Party. That's what I mean by political warfare. It is not a physical fight you see. It is not a gun that you see, but it is that divisiveness that we see in our society today.
All right. Thank you, Veteran Smith. Let's go to Mr. George H. Nuba for his 3 questions. You're muted, Mr. Nuba.
Sorry about that. You indicated that during Ellen administration, we didn't see such quote-unquote warfare. I beg to differ with you. I was in Monrovia Ellen first term. I saw the warfare between CDC and Unity Party. I saw people toting casket. I saw people no hanging, no female, no underwear on stage.
True.
If that was not warfare, then I have yet to know what I call warfare. Why don't you consider that warfare?
Mr. Noble.
Yes.
I would not want to disagree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you 100%. And for me, I didn't only see that in Liberia. I witnessed that warfare right in front of the U.S. Embassy in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Where people toting casket the same way.
Okay.
So I do agree with you when you talk about warfare. But if you look at our environment today, and why does this matter to Liberia? Liberia faces serious national challenges. I know that we experience that, but to the magnitude especially looking at since the new government took over from day one up to today, it is being constant warfare. I know Ellington will occur, but for my opinion, the magnitude is hard. Even though when Ellen came came to power, we had the same kind of challenges, but I think Liberia was in a different direction. It was in a different direction. But now, for what I see, we face more serious challenges in Liberia today. We look at high youth unemployment in our country. We got limited economic opportunities in our country. We look at weak infrastructure in our country. We look at drug trafficking concerns in our country. We look at public service delivery. We look at limited private sector growth in our country today. These issues require long-term solution and national focus. Unfortunately, constant political confrontation often distract attention from these priorities. So I do believe the CDC and the Unity Party, after governance, and you come back to even the Unity Party, focus on governance because you came to fix the system. But if you continue to go, because it is CDC right to continue to question the government, because the Unity Party held the CDC government to the same kind of standards, so the same standards apply. Yes, you can do that, but you cannot do that in every situation. Especially, I will keep going back to the drug situation. Even if you go a development road today, for example, go back to the RIA road. We believe that today the RIA road should be able to move to another level. But I believe the battle still continue with the same thing. And we're forgetting to understand that government is continuity. One government start, another government begin, and that's how country move forward. But for every time something starts, we have to fight it this way, we have to fight it this way, people still doing that. I think they need to allow the government to work. So some of the major issues that we have, and we want to resolve it together. We agree there will always be a diverse opinion on that. But at some point in time, we need some civility for the government to be able to tackle this issue. Because currently, the economic situation in Liberia with the living standards of our people is very deplorable.
Okay. You used this $19 million drug situation as an example. Were you in Liberia when the $100 million drugs incident occurred? And up to now, we have not heard the names of the people, who are the perpetrators, and we have not heard whether they have been brought to justice. Were you in Liberia? And what was your position? Where was your pen?
I will always, my pen was always available.
Okay.
I always make sure that things that are so divisive that are not in the interest of Liberia, I speak against that. My foremost concern is Liberia, country first. I'm not about CDC, I'm not about Unity Party. I'm about the progress of Liberia. That's why I identify the issues you see that I lay out in my commentary. I'm not against no particular political party, but when anybody, the 100 million drugs you talk about, I think it's not good for Liberia. What was wrong yesterday, and that same thing happened today, is still wrong today. Yeah. So if you accuse somebody yesterday of wrongdoing, and that same thing still exists today, I believe it's also still wrong. So it was wrong yesterday for the $100 million, and also wrong today for the $19 million. So I do believe that is now we need to have a national consciousness. You and I live in a great United States of America. Democrat and Republican always disagree. But when it comes to the United States of America, they all agree and they put the United States of America first. So that's how I expect us to have a civil political discourse, not a retaliatory political discourse.
Okay. Okay. I brought that in because I found out that there was $100 million issue you didn't write, and we are talking about $19 million issue.
Okay, okay,
Now,
I see.
number two, my question number three: do you think that these people do not like one another? I mean, do you think it's animosity between the two parties, or it is their for their own selfishness, self-interest? That I was there, I was chopping, and you move me from there, you there, you chopping. I want to come back and get there. That is not seeking Liberia interest. What do you think?
Okay, great question. And if we go back to what you said first, that you didn't write then, I
Mhm.
think when that occurred, when the 100 million occurred, I think it was sometime either 2003 or 2004. I can't my recollection. But then I was not actively doing my commentaries.
Okay.
However, I had discussions on that personally. I kick against that.
Okay.
Secondly, if we look at the political rivalry in our country,
Mhm.
I think that's why I'm against propaganda, destructive propaganda. What led us to where we find ourselves today is destructive propaganda. Propaganda, when you continue to use propaganda, not in a positive way, where personal repetition is at stake, we are evidence based, it creates animosity and continuous animosity. And CDC may be right because then things that we see today that we hear all the time from the news media occurred then, which were we right? We still see some of those same conversation comes up today. That's what I use in my commentary. The first thing that's what I use the drug as just a little example. There are more broader issues that we can delve into and be able to expand on those different things that have occurred over time. So that I use that. But I do believe for a healthy democratic process, we need to disagree and we need to use evidence based as the means of challenging policy differences instead of using instruments that are further detrimental to people. For example, I could take myself as an example. I work in a past administration managing a road fund. It was audited. But today, at times, certain people hold me to certain standards that they didn't use as evidence based. And I know that some of the things they accused me of, they wrote, those things were not factual. Those things were manufactured. And those same things occurring today. There are issues that they even accuse other people here for, and that is seen it. So that kind of continuous conflict will always derail our democratic process and will distract governance. That's why you see, for me, that's why I believe that CDC is saying you destroy us the last time. And so the things that probably they will hold you accountable for could be factual. But when you're holding people accountable, you must have the evidence to hold them accountable. Don't hold them accountable based on evidence that you do not have. That's my point. And that's why one of the things that I see that continue to hold our country hostage with a continuous rivalry between the two different groups.
Thank you, Mr. Nubo. Now let's go to Mr. Cassell. Mr. Cassell, your three questions.
Okay, Mr. Satu. Like I said previously, I've been reading some of your articles. Well written, pretty sharp. But what would you say to those who say that tension and debate in politics is healthy for the body politics as a whole? It shows that our democracy is buoyant and vibrant. If you look at, say, for instance, in the U.S., you see Democrats and Republicans. It's almost like a pitchfork war. I mean, you don't see any literal attacks against each other, but you know they're very loud and provocative against each other. It's the same thing in the UK. You've got the Tories going after the current government, the Labour Party. And it's like, you know, a pitchfork battle. So what would you say to people that say that sort of behavior is ideal and it's healthy, especially in a developing country like Liberia? It's good for our body politics.
Oh, good question. You know, I do believe that there's a cost to every political polarization. If you look at some of the countries you talk about, those countries are developed countries, and they have, like, when you come to America, America has a system that is in place that is held accountable for that system. I don't care how you take it in the political realm. The legislature can come against certain things the president bring out. But in our society today, in Liberia, we still haven't been able, even though we have had a political transformation from government to government, we have changed. But I will tell you, we still haven't been able to have a sustained and stable system in our country. And I still believe today that politically, Liberia has matured to a level. But when it comes to systems that will create the enabling environment for people to thrive, I think we have issue. And when we continue to have a polarized system, political system, there are common things that occur. Investors become very cautious of the country. For example, we talk about issues. Every time people hear about your country, you're having these kind of battles and doing that, especially in a more destructive way, you know, investors will feel different. 2, public trust decline. 3, national unity weakens. Political continuity suffers. And lastly, development incentives become politicized. As you and myself we see in Liberia, those are some of the things that happen in our country today. But if you come to America, some of the things these are just few points that are identified. If you come to the United States and other places, there are systems that will checkmate you. In Liberia, those systems are not there to checkmate you politically. If you go, the other day, you and I see, come by example, one of our big people put their stuff on a billboard. Later on, the system said, no, that is not a time. You got to bring it down. And it happened. But in our country today, it's not. The systems are not there. So I do believe, personal opinion, that continuous polarization of our country will continue to divide us. And we have more bigger things can do. We can govern, we can disagree, but we got to also be able to agree. We cannot disagree on everything. And, you know, there are things that, for example, if you ask a citizen today that is unemployed, when we come to unemployment, if you ask all citizens, they will tell you, say, yeah, unemployment is an issue. If you go to United Party, and it will not be unique to them, they will say, yes, we have an issue. But can we come together and look for those solutions to best solve it for us? CDC may say, yeah, I have the best solution. But yeah, we try you, but we still have unemployment very high. United Party say, I will rescue you, we can do that. But yet and still, we still have high unemployment. Our country, the economy is still at a stake. Even though we are experiencing growth, but we are not experiencing transformation in our people. And I do believe some of the vices for those things are the same polarization that we have. We cannot agree on things, and there are certain things we cannot do together. So it further divides the country, and we cannot build our country in that kind of intense disunity.
Okay. I've got two more questions, but let me pull you away from the current focus to something you mentioned in one of your essays. Your central argument in that essay was that economic transformation must be judged by outcomes, not fiscal headlines. So, what are the three most important outcomes Liberians should track between now and 2029? If you were to say isolate the three most significant outcomes, what would they be?
Yeah, that's a good question. Today I had a lot of conversation on that. So for me, some of the there are key indicators we need to look at. Some of the indicators I want to see for 2029 will be: one, is Liberia improve and reducing or declining the unemployment rate in our country? Are more of our people getting new jobs? Is our business climate getting better when it comes to Liberian-owned businesses? I do believe that's a key indicator for our people, because it helps small businesses help to create jobs and help to transform our country and empower our people. So we look at unemployment, we look at Liberian businesses, and we look at the affordability issues in Liberia. If those things are happening in our country and we're tracking those things, I do believe 2029 will be our best time for that. Because let's go back. We can do a comparative analysis from the CDC time to today where we are. We look at all of the economic activities, or we look at from early time. Most of the economic activities, if you look at our economic outlook, it tells you that we're growing at 5%. Yeah, you can see the growth. Yeah, you can see revenue going up. Yes, you can see the debt increasing that we need to change back and we need to use as investment. But can we feel it to transform our people? Can we answer the question that the Liberian people's lives are being transformed, even though we're collecting more revenue, even though we increase in the international community giving us more money for to increase our debt? So if we can see all of those indicators that are just laid out, I think then we need to find out, to the Liberian people now need to look at the election from a perspective of the economy, or who is capable enough that can bring economic transformation to our country. Because I believe our country does not have a real political transformation issue now. I believe we have an economic transformation issue in our country. Our people's lives need to be better. We need to create more jobs. So those are the things I will be looking forward to for 2029.
Okay. My last question is, I think you were critical about the government recurrent spending, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, but that same recurrent spending that you're critical of, that's recurrent spending is used for the country's development. I mean, it funds health workers, road maintenance, public institutions, and all that. It's not like the government taking that money and just wasting it. They're actually doing things that are tangible. You can put your finger on and say, okay, yeah, we just built this new health infrastructure. We're trying to work on the institutions and of course, paying government employees. So it's not only going towards paying government employees.
Okay, but I have a different outlook. Outlook on that. I do agree government activities or government operation has to continue. And over time, that's what has been happening with our national budget. Our national budget has been used for government to continue. But as our national budget being used to transform the Liberian people, is the national budget being used to create jobs? For instance, 76% of the national budget is basically recurring expenses. Roughly 22% of that amount go to investment or PSIP. And if you look at the PSIP, if you look at economically, you and myself, if we do not invest in sectors that create jobs, I don't care how much our budget size will be. I don't care how much our other activities will be like in our budget. Yeah, we pay people salaries. It is a good thing. Government has to pay people salary. But if the ordinary person's life is not being transformed, that budget, how large is it? It means nothing. It means nothing. So that's what I'm saying, that you cannot consume your way to prosperity. You cannot continue to spend all your money on maintaining a home. But if something happened to that home, or your children can't go to school, what happened to you? So you got to take some of that money. It's about time we realign our budget and try to look for investing activities that will create job opportunities for our people. That's my point. I do agree with you. Government has to continue. They got to pay bills. They have to pay bills. But yet and still, that investment portfolio part of the national budget, we need to increase it. We need to increase it into the things that create job opportunity, and we look for those economic drivers that will create jobs for us. Because that is our problem today in Liberia. How the people's lives can be better, how jobs can be created. That should be the central issue for our people today, that they can afford to pay children's school fee. You see, majority of the things that happen in our country, I would say, look at some of them to be symptoms. Symptoms. If Liberian people start economically, they start to feel economic empowerment in our country, most of the things that happen in our country will go away. The division will go away. They will not be looking at government job alone. But in our country today, majority of the money, over 76% of our money being spent on only spending. Most of the rest of the other Liberian people are not working for government, even though you provide services for them. But use the budget in a way that can benefit the other people that do not have direct employment with the Liberian people. And how you can do that? By investing in activities that will drive economic activities such as creating jobs. That's what I think.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Cassell, and thanks to the guests already. Let's bring Mr. Nippet to the stage. But Mr. Nippet, I'm going to come back to you. Mr. Nippet, I'll mute you. All right. So, Mr. Satu, let me start with this for my question. In your write-up, you said the voters should go beyond changing government. They should focus on changing institutions. I'm attempting to ask you, what do you mean by that? But I want to rephrase that by saying, what do you identify as the bottleneck, as the log jam that is stopping the movement, the upward movement of everything across Liberia? What do you think is the bottleneck? Institutionally, what do you think that institution is? Since you are calling for change of institution, or remake of institution,
No, I'm not calling for change of government. I'm not calling for a change of government. If you look at my write-up, in fact, let me be clear. I do believe that we have tried changing of government. We have tried Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She stayed in power for 12 years. We tried CDC stayed in government for 6 years. We tried the current government, and their government is continuing. So we have seen leadership. But I still believe that our political system is maturing. Our issue is not really changing government. Our main problem is how can we put our systems in place that will be stable, how we can put a system in place that will have continuity, how we can put a system in place that institutions in place that can be held accountable. I would tell you for example, today, if you look at any other developed country, for example, look at post-war country, like Rwanda, or you go to Sierra Leone, you go to other places. When they took power, when they took power post-conflict countries, they always have something called continuity, stability. You look at Paul Kagame, he was in power for a long time, and the system that you have, those systems were able to mature over time. Over 20 years, you see impact. For example, CDC stayed there for 6 years. CDC project they were carrying, or they didn't finish all of their projects. For example, the RIA was still going. But if you, for a post-war conflict country, if you have stability and systems that are developed and mature over time, that country will move forward. But for every time you reset, then you have a problem. And one of Liberia's problem has been, after the conflict, they will continue to reset. Whenever we reset, for example, you go to cities and United Party, how many development plans we haven't had before? Different development plan. So when they start from point one, from the baseline from point one, when the other person come out, they come back to point one again. When the other person come back, they come back to 1.1. So I think that is one of our key problems. So changing government is not our issue. Maintaining system, having stability and continuity is where we need to go, and we need to find somebody that can have that ability to be able to give us systems, and our voters who should be able to maintain people, not just changing government. You change government, you get the same result. You come back, you get the same result. So you can't do the same thing like the famous communist saying that you can't continue to do the same thing over and over and you expect different results. And what we continue to track. So that's what I believe, that we need to put good system in place, that we have stability and continuity for us to be able to move forward.
Okay. Before I continue on my question, let me have Mr. Nippet introduce himself, and then I'm going to come back to you to ask you my further question. Mr. Nippet, I'll have you introduce yourself, sir. Welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure this evening to be in studio. My name is Christopher J. Nippet. I think the guest knows me very well. I have interacted with him in Washington, D.C. when he worked for I think it's the Founders Church somewhere on 16th Street. Mr. Satu, it's a pleasure of being in your company this afternoon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Nippet. For the record, Mr. Nippet, actually, you and I, we worked together when I was president for the Liberia community for the Washington, D.C. community area with with Ambassador Minor.
Okay.
That was inferred. It will not be for me to say, oh, we work on this, we work on that, so I just cut it short.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, gentlemen. Good. Meeting. That's good. So y'all, hopefully, when he come asking you questions, he will not give you a softball question. But let me ask my own question. I'm gonna come back to that same question, Mr. Satu. It is my belief that the question need to be answered, so I'm going to bring it back again. You have looked at the political landscape, and you have said the two political parties are nothing but log jam. They have clocked the way forward such that nothing moves. We are stagnated. Nothing is happening. So my question, I come back to you. Having evaluated the system, what do you think? What have you identified? The problem, the bottleneck. I can see it, but you did the research, so I want you to tell our readers. You've written a lot. Where do you think the Liberian people need to focus, or the government process need to focus, and that I need reform in order for us to move the country forward? Where, Mr. Satu?
Oh, I will be blunt with you and clear with you on that. I think when you're working, the country need to move to a point where first there must be some time that the country will have to reconcile itself. Reconciliation doesn't necessarily mean we all need to sit together to have fun together or to agree on everything. But I think it can be a point where we can all come around the table to be able to have an honest conversation on the direction of the country. Where we find ourselves, I believe our country is at a crossroad with a huge division, and it takes leadership now to be able to look on both sides and say, I'm not governing for a particular group of people, I'm governing for the country. I think that's where our president needs to look to govern the country. Secondly, I do believe that it is about time that the country revisit its national budget and do some realignment on how we can focus on those things that will create opportunity for our country. One of the greatest problems our country faces today is the high unemployment rate in our country. Our people are struggling. They cannot get by easily. And I think the national budget is a tool that you can use to be able to get us where we are in some other ways. Like you and I spoke the other time. You look at, for example, we talk about the liberalization policy. Look at our economy today. Like it is about time that we take ownership of our economy. We're not saying that foreigners cannot participate in our economy, but I think it's about time that government need to start looking at the Liberianization policy to empower Liberians so we can be able to create job opportunity. The time to say that, oh, Liberians can't do this, can't do that, the world has changed. Today, if you look at the article that I put out, you see that our debt portfolio has increased. The debt portfolio, but if you're increasing your debt portfolio, if your budget is increasing, it is not having a direct adverse effect on your people to transform your people, then that is a problem. So back to your question, you want me to identify most of the things that I think can better Liberia. First, we need to reckon, we need to see how we can come together and see eye to have a conversation. The government need to, one of the greatest focus of our country now to be the economy.
Do you recognize the fact, Mr. Satu, as the impeding element within our governance process, within the economic sphere, and within the social and political sphere as well? The superior, let me borrow the term from Councilor Gonglo, even though I'm not a fan of him because he's been dodging me to come on the platform. But he used this term under President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the imperial presidency. Do you recognize the presidency as an institution that is given so much power, unlimited power within our governing system? It overshadows the legislature, it overshadows the judiciary, and it presents itself as the ultimate power. No law is below no law. It's above all the laws in the country. The superior presidency of Liberia. Do you recognize that as the bottleneck of our stagnation?
I would look at it in two ways. I would look at it from the point that you are making a great point, looking at what we see happening in our country, not only from this government, but from subsequent government that president, the executive branch has been able to exert itself on all of our different governance structure. But I have a different view, and I see that as a symptoms and not the problem. The problem has been and is that we have our branches of government is there. The law is there. We have 3 equal branches of government. We have the legislature, we have the judicial. But one branch or the other branch circumvent themselves or bring themselves down to the executive branch to hold them accountable. The legislative branch is the branch that should be able to have that oversight to checkmate the executive branch. But if the executive, if the legislative branch do not have the spine enough to checkmate the executive, the president will always have ultimate power. The presidency also has some power that they veto or they put the executive order through. But yet instead, the legislature and the judicial branch has serious power that they can do that. So it also brings us to the point that we need to start looking at the level of people that we find in our legislative branch that can say, hey, look, we think this is the right way to go, or we think this shouldn't be that. But if the legislature just gave themselves directly to the executive branch, yeah, they will take it for a ride. And that's one of the problems that we continue to have. That balance of power is not working enough for our country.
Okay, so good. We're going to go to the lines and then we'll come back. We'll begin the questioning with you, Mr. Nippet. So we got the time now is 6:25, 5 to 10:30 in Liberia. I want us to go to the line. Mr. Satu, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just trying to get up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so we're going to go to the lines. We'll come back because I'd like to stay within the time frame so that we can be able to get the listeners and that are following the show. And then we'll come back. We're going to go into the second half of the show of our engagement with the guest, Mr. Boniface Satu. Mr. Chris, it's up to you, sir.
Well, it's good that Mr. Satu is in studio.
Let go.
Sometime, my man.
Mr. Nippet, let's go to the line. We'll come back. We'll come to you.
Good evening and welcome.
Yeah, thank you. How you coming on?
I'm okay. What is your name and where are you calling us from?
Yeah, my name is Daniel calling from Boreville community.
Daniel who?
Daniel Kai calling from Boreville community.
Okay, Daniel, go ahead. Daniel, you need to shake up. Daniel, hello. Daniel, you need to shake up. Your line is very bad. No, shake up a little bit. Go ahead, let's see. Daniel, you need to call back. Daniel, please call back because we need to get you before we respond to you. So if you are there tonight, call on 0881 14 35 04 0776 105 105 0881 14 35 04 0776 105 105. Hello?
Yeah, hello, you getting me now?
Yeah, at least you are clear, Daniel. I hear you.
Yeah, I tell you, the brother, thank you. His studio, that was studio girls. I tell you, thank you so much. The way you sing, I really like it. I really like the way you talk.
Okay.
Yeah, because like me, at least when he's talking, they will know that we get someone in Liberia here, like a very tough, good thing there.
Okay.
But you see, a party talking about it, and a party make it today, that brother the fellow. A lot of person will move on the other side because you are party in power at the end. Not continue. We are here. We keep pushing the one to we have to do 1 year at the end of the day. They carry drugs to the airport. So this country, we really need to put ourselves together, immediately youth. We the Liberians, But to put somebody in power, at least the Africa, they kind of development are going on in Africa. They put their leader, they put their leader in power, that leader getting in power for 3 terms. Development can go on. But you don't see leader going into development there at the end of the thing. Still the leader for there.
Thank you.
So that is.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you. So, folks, if you are there tonight, you've been following the show, you've been listening to our conversation. So, if you have a question, you have a recommendation, any comment, you can call on 0881 14 35 04, 0881 14 35 04, 0776 105 105, 0776 105 105. You listen to the first caller saying that he appreciate our guest for tonight and he liked the way he explained. What do you have to say? You've been listening to the conversation. Let's discuss Liberia, and we are discussing Liberia. Let's go to the phone line and talk to this caller. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Chris. How are you? This is Mount Vic calling from Wabukwata.
Mount Vic, welcome. Let's hear you tonight. Strong lady.
Okay, thank you. You need to have this. Okay. I want to agree with the because this thing I've been pondering on my mind. This unity party, even though I'm or the unity party and this thing becoming like real power to be friends. The case is right. It's 100% right. If you are parties, try and do things that will develop the country. For the opposition being trying their best or doing or your person say is not doing it the correct way. You know what is to be done is to reconcile a unified country. Our president, who is dead now, during his inauguration, he said, and I quote, there will be no unity party, there will be no CDC. Liberia is a party.
Okay.
And I love that. And everybody who was at that program loved that, and everybody was applauding. But when he take over again as he's governing now, you can see
everything changed.
So Liberia party. Reconcile the people to develop the country. That is my
okay.
Reconcile the people that will move forward, that the country will develop. He said a good thing. Everybody clapped for him that time. But now to put it into practice now.
Okay.
To put it into practice, then when we are looking. My son, let me tell you, this country needs reconciliation.
Thank you, Mavic.
Reconciliation. What the country needs. But we are looking at the reconciliation, but it's not working. It's not working. The country is divided, my son. The country is divided. At least when you go, you do the reconciliation, then everybody will work together and the country will move forward.
Thank you.
I want to applaud the guests. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mavic. Yeah, your point is well taken. Thank you for being part of the show tonight.
You are welcome.
Okay, let's go to the phone line and talk to this caller. Hello.
Hello, Chris. From Calgary community.
Amos William, welcome. Let's hear you.
They call us reconciliation. Yes, we reconcile. But I don't know why our people don't want to reconcile. The NCP party, they want to know the NCP, that party. You know, they don't let that. But our place is just upside down. It's not upside. Yeah. I don't know. But I never even see we just talk on the platform like on ELPT or, you know, when party I've not seen that one before. When the thing will happen, today, look, in our county, today, somebody become missing, and we don't know the income. So that is why I said that the solution is to deploy a police in that place to go there. That's the only way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amos, Mr. William. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being part of the platform. Let's go to the phone line. Talk to Bude Cartoon. Welcome.
Yes. Mr. Chris, be well. Good evening again. Good evening to all of our professors. Welcome in class. And good evening to the guests in class. Thank you.
Welcome.
Chris, there is a thing that I observe or that I've been observing in our country. Other countries that have politicians. But Liberia don't have politicians.
Okay.
I repeat, other countries that have politicians, but Liberia, our country, don't have politicians.
Okay.
Those whom we got claiming to be politicians, they are all political maneuver.
Are you joining with our guest tonight?
They are all political maneuver, or in other words, they are political plans. Which color of shirt you're wearing once you appear, it changes to that color. Now, during school days, up to present, government officials are taught before a school part they you say I pledge allegiance to the flag of Liberia and to the republic for which it stands. Which of the allegiance that you pledge, and to which nation you pledge in the allegiance? What have been your involvement? What have been some of the attitude that can be introduced out there as someone say, yeah, they got to off. Lack of neutrality and law of country. You are a politician. What is the challenges that you pray for the government? And you say, I'm a politician, government are putting your foot on fire. But rather, every day we instruct each other. All going after is the breaking down of our country image, denigrating our country image. We yet to claim to be politicians.
Thank you.
Somebody talk about America. Don't go to America. Be straight right here in Africa. Over here, Africa around us here. There we got politicians, but our own they refuse to learn. They claim to know it all, yet they know nothing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. God bless our country and save our state. Question to our guests. What have been your own contribution in terms of system transformation in our country for the growth and development of our country, Liberia? Mr. Guest, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bude Cartoon, you're not forced, but you compare to do the right thing. Thank you for being part of the platform tonight. Let's go to the phone line and take another call. Hello.
Yeah, good evening, Chris. How you doing?
I'm okay. What is your name and where are you calling us from?
This is Michael Gay calling from Dorset.
Michael Gay, let's hear you.
Yeah. I agree 100% with the guest, and I just want to buttress what Matt Bay was saying.
Okay.
Liberia needs reconciliation. Yes. The reconciliation we need it urgently, because it should have been done long time. When CDC was opposition for the 12 years, they were advocating for better Liberia during early time. When they took over, we expected the reconciliation to take place. It didn't happen. Joseph Boakai took over. This is 3 years we're in now. We have not seen anything about reconciliation. Yeah. So please, we apologizing to the government and the social how do you call it, the well-known organization in this country, so that we can put words together so that Liberia can have reconciliation. Because the party, the CDC and Unity Party, they bringing our country down.
Okay.
Yeah, because most of the guys, they only there for their service game. They only want to get today and put in their pocket. They don't think about our children's future.
Thank you. Thank you.
They don't think about our children's future at all. Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marker Gay. Thank you for being part of the platform. Folks, if you are there, this is Abete D4, and tonight we have our guest that particularly talking about the two, more talk about political party. What is your take? You've been listening to him, and you've been listening to our panelists asking question. What is your question? What is your recommendation? What is your comment? Let's hear you tonight on the following number: 0881 1435 04, 0881 1435 04, 0776 105 105, 0776 105 105. And you're gonna be live tonight on Abete D4. You listen to our colors tonight, and what will be your own saying? Let's hear you tonight on Abete D4, 0881 1435 04, 0776 105 105, and you're gonna be live. If there is no color, Mr. Wright, are you there? And we can send it over to you. Yes, indeed. Color 0881 1435 04, 0776 105 105. Mr. Wright, over to you. I think we get it now.
Thank you, Chris. I know we got a lot of participation there from the listeners. That's good. Mr. Satu, when I hand it back to you so that you respond to the callers before we move on into the second phase of the program.
Okay, I think most of the callers tend to agree with the idea or what we identify as some of the problems that we face with. But one of the callers said, "What have I done for the country?" And
systemically,
yes, I think I don't want to be more lengthy. But over the years,
I'm glad you recognize Mr. Satu, because I do have a full house there tonight as panelists, so I appreciate that recognition.
Yeah. So, to my callers, I think I have served my country not only when it comes to systems. Since the war, I never left Liberia. I stayed through the war until I traveled. When I was in Liberia during the war, I was able to help build systems. For example, I did work with LBDI, helped to build the Western Union at LBDI. I also worked with the Elections Commission. And when I went to the States, I also worked for the Liberian community. When I came back to Liberia, I was head of the World Bank program for economic governance and institutional reform during the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration. That was 2012. In October, that I returned back home. That was when we set up most of the financial management systems you see in Liberia. I was coordinating all the activities along 9 different ministries. And not only that, I also work with the Ministry of Health, working on the health resilience of the Ministry of Health. I also work with NAFA to set up, prior to Emma Glasgow going there, I was the technical consultant for the World Bank to that program before Emma Glasgow got there. I also worked with the Ministry of Public Works with USAID. That's where I gained my experience in the road sector doing road maintenance. That's where we developed the road program for Liberia, the maintenance program for Liberia. We call that FRAM, Federal Roads and Alternative Maintenance Program. That was a $25 million program. I think some of the guys in the county and I work extensively in the counties working with people on that. Then I also set up, I was the first National Road Fund manager. I was the first person they hired to establish the National Road Fund. The National Road Fund office you see today started from the grassroots as the first person to build that institution. Now you have a National Road Fund institution that is working in the country that is still functioning. So that's what I've been doing. We can go more into that, but so far I have been able to provide my own contribution. That's why those experiences that I gained over the years, those are the experience now that I'm turning into commentaries, policy document that the country can be able to benefit to see, because in our country we don't know something about by retention or institutional knowledge. Whenever you have people that gain knowledge over the time, look, understand the system, the Liberian people will say, oh, he time there, the time finished, let it go. But they don't look at the institutional knowledge that the person is bringing to the table, or that will be able to help the country. So I've been doing a lot of work for my country, and I'm happy for the work that I've done so far in my country. And it is everybody's responsibility to continue to help our country. You don't necessarily have to have a political position. You can sit and write and provide your own ideas to your country to make your country better. That's why I developed most of the commentaries that I developed, called the Reader Digest Commentary Network.
You are muted, Mr. Wright.
Gosh. Once again. Mr. Nippet, thank you, Mr. Satu. Mr. Nippet, let's start the second phase with you. We're going to go around with two questions each, please. Let's start with you. 2 questions, Mr. Nippet. I got to get a thing out of
Thank you so much. Mr. Satu, it's good that you are in studio. You have given a lengthy information to the public about what you have done, where you have been, and how you have set up system. If you set up system, Mr. Satu, in Liberia, second and commencing from Mrs. Her Excellency, pardon me, Her Excellency President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, one would think that systems are like engine, they are operational, they are structurally put into place. To disintegrate those systems becomes harder. What were the systems that you put into place, and why you think the systems are not working? That would be my first question.
Okay, good question, Mr. Nippet, Honorable Nippet. During the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration, I think you will be aware that our country was challenged. All of our infrastructure, our processes and systems are fade away. Our rural sector, everything got damaged, and we needed to start from scratch. My role was basically, when I got recruited, to serve as the national coordinator for the Economic Governance and Institutional Reform Program. And during that program, we work on, we have, I think, about 7 different pillars, components. And some, we have civil service reform, we have illicit mining, we had the financial management school, and some of those systems. For example, you look at the financial management school and procurement school. That's when they strengthened PPCC. That's when they established PPCC. And most of the students that graduated from that school serve PPCC. And not only that, they were spread over to all ministries and agencies that we could start and be able to adhere to compliance in terms of when it comes to the PPCC law of Liberia, because then the act was passed. Not only that, if you look at the development superintendents, the development superintendents were trained from the financial management school that was set up by and supported by the World Bank. If you look at the SIGTAX system today, you have the LRA transition to SIGTAX. That was another system that was set up. You also look at the IFMIS system, which is the information the government financial management system. If you look at LEPA, we had to train people and government employees in procurement in different kinds of different fields to be able to help them. You look at illicit mining, you go to Ministry of Lands and Mines. You even look at the national legislature. We install a system at the national legislature that we could be able to monitor the performance of legislatures. And when we left that program, the system was turned over to the then speaker, who was Edwin Snow. But I do believe that today, Senator Edwin Snow, I do believe that today that system is not working. But we're involved with a lot of systems. And I think over the period, that's when I talk about continuity and stability. From the Ellen Johnson study time, we started from the baseline from zero, moving up, carrying up the trajectory, carrying the baseline upward, and then we had government change. We came to the CDC government. Did we maintain all of the systems that were there? No, we didn't, because the CDC came out with another plan. The plan was the Pro-Poor agenda. And some of the Pro-Poor agenda, for example, we have some of the things that CDC is doing, we did that in civil service reform, but the reform was not fully completed, and they started with harmonization. So, but if you have continuity and maintaining systems in government with stability, then you have long-term result. But then from the CDC government, from the United Party government, strategic plan, when they left, when CDC came, they came with their own plan. So that sustainability was not there again. We had to start all over. So we come back to Joseph Boyka. CDC started Pro-Poor agenda. Now with the Pro-Poor agenda, but once it started picking up, no, we changed government. Where did we go again? Now we come to the arrest agenda. Now with the arrest agenda, the next thing you're going to find, another person is going to come back and say, oh no, I'm starting another program. That way you don't sustain systems, because you change system from one system to another. You and I know, typical example, if you start a business 1 year, from year 1, you wouldn't make profit. Year 2, you wouldn't make profit. Year 3, you start picking up. Year 5, then you start seeing result. But at year 5, when you change the plan again, you start over, then you start all over again. I want to Liberia biggest problem right there. We always reinventing the wheel. And whenever we reinvent the wheel, we start over, we have a problem. So I do believe that Liberia doesn't have a political system. We have changed government successfully, but we have a system problem that we can sustain over the years. So what I propose in some of my commentary, that it's about time that we legislate a national master development plan for the country, that any successes government come in, they should be able to follow that plan. They can enhance it, but not to change it. You look at the great United States, because they have system in place, I don't care what kind of president you bring, he will follow that system. The system will continue. You can do. So Liberia lack a sustainability of our system. We already resetting our button. So whenever we reset, we start all over. We cannot achieve what we need to achieve. And that is our problem we have. We do not have stable system. We are not sustaining our system. We are not retaining the systems that we build. We always changing over time. As another example I will give you, you got public servants that you train over the years. When new government come, what do? They move all of them, they start all over. So productivity reduce. We always starting all over. And who's responsible for that? It is the political system that is responsible for that. And the political system try to be able to give back to political patronage. So they forget about looking for the competent people that will do it, but they have to pay back for the people. So whenever we restart, we continue to have problems. So our productivity will always be fluctuating. It's never stable for it to have a trend that is moving upward instead of coming back down, going up, or you can't build a country like that.
Thank you very much. And then you stayed in the President Selly's government. And then come CDC, you were the road fund administrator. And you were a proponent of all of the systems, the good systems that you just mentioned. Could you not have incorporated those systems with the CDC, whether they were harmonized? And I want to use that word harmonization. Could you not have harmonized those systems or integrated those systems with the CDC platform so that you have the system that you had worked on will be continued? You have a system that you will work on to be continued. Let me put you back into memory. You remember when we were at the embassy? We got there, we saw a whole lot of things shaking, going haywire and all that. And we had a conversation with the chief, the Excellency Charles Mano. He was magnanimous enough to give me the bandwidth and say, look at this thing critically and see what you can do. Up to today's date, we have a system in place. Perhaps it's not operating there at 100%, but I want to believe that structurally they have something like 85%. And wherever you go in it, where if you make 85% in school, your teacher will call you a good student. Why did you fall short? Or let me withdraw that word, fall short. Why didn't you try to bring those issues into conversation, doing a memo, giving your rationale for those memos, so that the system you talk about now will not have been disintegrated? Because as you speak, you're saying there's no system in Liberia, but you are one of the proponents of all of those systems. So you can be the creator of something, and you see the same thing that you created is being damaged. And then you look on, you say, well, let it just be. Could you have show that intact?
Good, Honorable Nipe. For clarity, I didn't emphatically state that Liberia doesn't have a system. I stated that we have systems, and those systems are not maintained. Even today, even during the CDC government, some of those systems were there, but they were not fully implemented. There were gaps. There were some crack between the systems. And what I would say to you, yes, I was part of the United Government, United Party government. I worked strictly with the developmental part of the international development. They hire me, and I was providing service to government, but not as a government employee. So that was the distinction. I didn't have no statutory responsibility like managing a particular ministry or agency. No, I didn't have that kind of responsibility when I worked with the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government. I had an oversight to coordinate World Bank activities and carry out governance and interventions that will enhance our systems. That was with the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government.
In other words, you have an institutional memory, right?
Yes. So I still have that.
So with the institutional memory you have, you have had over the years with the World Bank, the IMF, and working in the government of Liberia systems, being a proponent, being someone who designed, someone who was there in the engine room, putting all of those little mechanics together so that Liberia will forge ahead with the institutional memory that you have acquired that facilitated you working on those critical documents. My question comes back to you. Was it not possible? And if it was not possible, what hindered you? What were the challenges that prevented you from at least socializing those information around your bosses in the CDC administration?
Good question, Mr. Nipe. The first thing, just for the record and for the show, I got recruited originally from the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government to move into the position to work into the CDC government. I was recruited competitively through the international community, but that didn't finalize until the elections. And once the elections were over, they continued the process, and I got hired. And the National Rule Fund when we started the National Road Fund, it was not an institution. It was a law that was passed. It has not transformed into a physical institution that can put policies and procedure together. It was my responsibility then to put all those systems in place, building the system, the operational system, building the operating environment, the control environment, establishing the institution. Those were the kind of responsibility and I had. And let's get it clear. The road fund then, even though they passed the law, we didn't operate, I didn't have that exclusive power or that leverage to say I will go into the deeper system. The only thing that I know I have done over the years with the Controller General, I always inform him that, hey, look, I think this happened, that happened. I think we can do this to be able to keep the process going. So if you look at the National Road Fund today, all of what you see today was some of the responsibility that I had to be able to put that institution together, to build the accounting system. The Road Fund is a financial management institution. We had to build that institution from scratch, but we didn't have the exclusive power. There were challenges. The first thing, our sole power was resting in 5 government ministries that we call the IMSC, Interministerial Council, chaired by the Ministry of Public Work. At the same time, the Ministry of Finance had that oversight responsibility over our office. But what I really know that I'm proud of what we did then, we didn't have the power, we didn't have a statutory institution that we could make sure to say, for example, all of the things that we did for PPCC, that we could go there and make the recommendation. And they didn't have that kind of leverage in the government to be able to do that. I had some challenges, and those challenges were serious challenges, but God willing, we're able to survive through some of those challenges. You rightly said, with the institutional knowledge that we acquire over the years, I think we have helped in other areas. But I think God found it fit for us to be able to establish a National Road Fund. And today we are proud that most of your roads that you see during the George Weah term, from the Ganta Tapeta road you talk about today, we find the finances for that road. All the community roads that were built in Liberia today, we fund the finances for that. The Saniquode road, the RIA road, most of the payments along that road, all of those things were done through the National Road Fund. They didn't publicize that, but majority of the funding during the George Weah government, all of the roads we saw, all those things came from my administration when I served as the National Road Fund head. Even today, in this current government, I can be clear. In the government I work, the plan that they work with today, some of the financing that they use today, some of the roads that they are building, for example, like the Island Cleaner Road they're building, all of those plans came from us. We did a feasibility study. We provided everything for them. So we did what we could do when we had the time to be able to provide that. So we're not in that position now. So what we're doing, we're saying, okay, we sit down and be able to put some of those things there and document them in paper to be able to help our country. But on Mr. Nepe, for a serious note, we were challenged, but yet instead, we did what we could do with the leverage we had. We were able to make the kind of impact that we could make at the time.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I just want to appeal to you one more time, Mr. Satu, and thanks to you, Mr. Nepe, for the question. If we can keep it succinct and very brief, because we got about 5 of us, I got to ask you questions. So I want to be able to go around the table, and we also got people watching. I got questions. I want to ask you one right now. This is for one of our very how do we say this? One of Liberia's most experienced diplomat, leader, politician, businessman, who is following the show. Let me ask you this question. So I'm going to read it to you. So it goes like this. What are the differences between one, system, policies, procedures, and process regulations?
The first thing, let go this way. Systems derive from policies. When you put policies in place, the next thing you want to establish is that you want to put a system in place to implement that policy. For example, there was a public policy that they put in place with the Road Fund Act. So what they needed to do with that policy, they needed to put that policy into full implementation. And inputting that policy into implementation, you needed to build the different systems, the financial management systems, or whatsoever systems that you will put in place. And so policy derive, I would say short, systems derive from policy. And when you put the policies in place, you need to have a mechanism in place that you monitor to see whether those systems that you have established from the policy are being fully implemented.
Thank you, Mr. Nippet. I'm sure he's watching. If he agrees with you, you'll let us know. Let's now go to, we're going to go around the table again. Mr. I didn't ask Mr. Ware yet. Mr. Ware, give us at least your 2 questions, my man. I mean, you didn't give me text me, so I ain't asked no question, yo, Chief. Say something, man. You got a question for the guest?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Wright. Thanks for at least bringing me in. My question have to do with when our guest was speaking, he talked about national consciousness. Yeah, if you look at that, I want to ask, did national consciousness have to do with have something to do with our development, our politicians? That is my first question.
You talk maybe to get back on track. Will you be able to expand a little bit at what point I was when I national consciousness?
Okay, you were speaking on politicians, especially the two parties, and you talk about if we want for development to go on, there are two different political parties, but we the citizens and also even those who in politics, we have to have national consciousness and for us to build this nation. So this is what I
okay, good.
Yeah, because somebody out there want to know what is national consciousness.
So the national I was referencing was in the idea that as Liberians, as politicians, we need to be conscientized and we need to understand that currently Liberia is challenged for the fact that today in our country we have high youth unemployment, we have limited economic activities, we have weak infrastructure. We talk about the drug trafficking in our country. We talk about poor public service delivery, and we talk about limited public sector. So those are the things that I was looking at and saying, hey, look, I think it's about time that our politicians or our leader be conscious enough to say, hey, I think we have a problem here. Even though we have the political bickering, but I think that it's time that we look at the greater problem that our country is faced with, then focusing on just beating on one another all through. So we can be conscious enough to know that, hey, look, when it comes to issues that we all agree on, we should be able to come together to solve it. For example, that's when I brought in the drug business. So you know that problem is a problem for every country. Liberia could be put on a blacklist, or Liberia could be listed some other way. It will affect even our economic development because it will affect investors. So there are certain things that we need to have consciousness about, and we do not need to politicize. We cannot politicize everything in our country.
Thank you so much, because it's very important when you talk about national consciousness. It's something that every Liberian need to learn and develop. Yeah, so my next question have to do with development projects sometimes delay because of political disagreement that we call political conflict.
And in some other point, I do agree with that point you bring up. I think today you and I know every activities that go on in the country. Other CDC said no, we don't want to start at A, or United Party will say we don't want to start at that. And nobody, it doesn't work that way because government is continuity. All of the projects you see today that United Party is doing or CDC did, I will be clear with you. Most of the problem, so nothing started from Ellen Johnson's early time. Like for example, you see the Gata Tapeta Road, it started from Ellen Johnson's early time. We call that a SICRAM program, the Southeastern Corridor. The National Road Fund should have contributed $8 million to that road project, and the international community contribute to that road project. For it was 100 kilometers of road. But when the thing started, it was built. That poor program was set up by Ernst & Young. What happened? Ellington, it didn't finish. It was in works. When George Biata came, we started the project. Today, if you look at the United Party government under President Boyka, the road still continue. So government is continuity. So you cannot keep saying that, no, we don't want doing the other one, we don't want doing the other one. That way, it doesn't work well for the country. That's where the division lies. Political bickering. I did this one, you did this one. But forget it. Let's remember, it's government money. The money that United Party use, that government money, that taxpayer money, that you myself money. The money that CDC use, that taxpayer pay, that government money. So that continuity. So you can't be claiming everything because it's all government funding.
Okay, thank you so much. Before I leave you, let me just ask my live question. If you could advise the both party, which is CDC and United Party leadership today, what will you tell them?
One of the first things I will tell, even directly to our president, I have one article that I listed some of the things that the president said during his speech. He said, I will be president for everybody. I will not be blue color, green color, yellow color, or whatsoever color. And our president is the president of the Republic of Liberia, not for United Party or not for the other tribe or not for the other tribe. So I expect him to set the tone to reduce all of the political bickering that we have. He has that responsibility. The Constitution gave him that right. So I want him to be the first person to take on that mantle to be able to solve that problem for our country. And second, both political parties, one thing that we all need to understand, that government is continuity. There will be things that you and I agree on. For example, I do believe people in Unity Party not working. I do believe that people in CDC not working. So we always agree that we need to solve the unemployment problem in our country. So if we agree on nothing, let other be able to work together. There must be things that we all can work together for the greater good of our country. But we cannot say everything that we put it on political polarization. It is not good for, it is not a healthy development strategy. It is not a healthy political strategy. Because we all should, the only thing that you can do is to be able to tell the next person, say, look, I have a better idea, and I think my idea can work best for the country, and this is how we should do that. And we can still come back to the table and laugh, but not to be able to insult one another, not to be able to be having fist fight. No. Civility must exist among us as a country and as a people. That's what I believe.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Wright. You can take it from there.
Thank you, Mr. Ware. Let's go now. We're starting all over, gentlemen. We are in the last hour, so let's keep the questions short, and so that we can be able to complete the table. Mr. Fred Veteran Smith, your 2 questions, sir. Okay, Fred is not with us yet. Let's go to you, Mr. Nubo. Come back to him.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Satu, Honorable Satu. There are two areas where I want clarification. You said you moved to Liberia in 2012, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you talk about your work at Public Procurement and Concession Commission. The Public Procurement Act was passed in 2005, and the PPCC began as an institution in 2006, and the act was amended in 2010. That was way before you went to Liberia. Okay. And another area is the IFMIS program that you also claim credit for. IFMIS started, the implementation started in 2009. The system became operational in 2011. That time I was still at GSC. And GSC was one of the institutions we had to remodel a place on the first floor for IFMIS operation. And you claim credit. You came to 2012. Please make that explicit.
Okay, good question.
Yeah.
For the record, I didn't claim to say I was responsible for IFMIS system or PPCC. So that's not what I say. And for the record, also, the time you're talking about the EQUIP program that I ran for the World Bank, which was situated at the Ministry of Finance. As you may be aware, at the Ministry of Finance, you have the IFMIS system. The IFMIS system was housed at the Ministry of Finance. The PPCC Act was passed, yes, but most of the operational things and their manuals and other things were implemented through the EQUIP program from the World Bank. And that World Bank program, I came in when they had a phase 2. In fact, that program started from GMAC from 2005. And they had additional funding when I came in. They brought in 18 million. A portion of that money was already used. It was being managed then through by the Ministry of Finance before I took over. So, in short, I would say that the IFMIS system that you set up was financed by the World Bank. When I got there, that's when we financed some of the programs. And Bernard Japa then was working with the IFMIS system also at the Ministry of Finance. So in short, the procurement, the PPCC law that the PPCC you're referencing that it started this time, some of the activities that they had at PPCC were financed by the EQUIP program. If you look at the IFMIS system, the IFMIS system portion of the IFMIS system was also financed by the EQUIP program. So I'm not claiming glory to say this and that, but all the program, but on I closed that project, the economic governance institutional. I think Mr. Cassell visited me at my office when I was at the Ministry of Finance to manage that thing. I think that program was with 9 ministries and agencies. So prior to the time you talk about 2011, it was an ongoing project until that program was completed during my term.
Okay. What I'm saying is that these two institutions or two engagements were operational. They began operation before you went to Liberia in 2012. So what difference? What system you set up when you got there?
I don't disagree.
You set up when you got there. What kind of improvement you brought to IFMIS? What kind of improvement you brought to to PPCC when you got there during your stay at the finance ministry?
Okay, yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
The first thing when I got over at the program, when I started the economic governance institutional portfolio, that portfolio was catering to 9 government ministry and agencies. And I was there to ensure that the systems or the program were properly implemented. I may not be even hiring of the staff on that program. That for the PPCC, the monitoring system, I hired the staff to go. I recruited that person from Ghana, and they completed that. And they completed the manuals for the PPCC. If you go to the IFMES system, some of the financing that they had, some of the reconciliation that they had to do to make sure that the funds were adequate enough for financing were done by me, working in collaboration with PFMU and working in collaboration with Bernard Japa with the Ministry of Finance. And not only that, if you go to LEPA, they even procure and set up a system with O'Brien Yima for us to do a distant way that some of the employees could do. So the program, you and I know that definitely a project program, everything that you want to undertake is already identified. It's just a manner of making sure that all of the interventions that they identify, that you coordinate our activities, you provide the financing, and you make sure that those systems were workable. That's what I did.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nubo. We do have Mr. The Veteran Smith on, and let's go back to him. The Veteran Smith, your 2 questions, sir.
Yeah, my first question. Thank you very much, Mr. Satu. My question goes back to the warfare between these 2 political parties. My focus is that it having impact on the Liberian youth, where they see the landscape through the eyes and landscape through these political parties, and where the education for some of these youth are being impacted because they focus on the philosophy, the slogan of these political parties. Do you feel, if I should ask you for the solution, are we ever going to solve this warfare between these 2? I won't say only these two political parties, but there might be more. Do you see it or any where our youth would not be affected as it is affected? That's my question.
Okay. So, in a broader context with the CDC and UP rivalry, this discussion is not about blaming one party. The rivalry between CDC and the United Party reflects a broader challenge in Liberia politics. The question to us, so you and myself, how much national energy is being spent fighting political battle versus solving national problems? Citizens should evaluate all political actors based on performance policies and outcomes. So instead of the big political bickering, I do believe that we do not have to come to the point to say CDC did this or United Party did this. We agree that everybody got to claim their glory. It's good. It's healthy for our political discourse. But to your question and to my central theme of my article, the rivalry, it is not about blaming one party or another. It's about having civility. It's about coexisting. And the fact that we need to disagree to agree, and the fact that despite we have political difference or ideology, we still have to coexist with the broader consciousness that we have to move our country forward because our country is challenged. Back to the youth that you just talked about. You and I know that majority of our youth, the opportunity that I had during my days of growing up is not the opportunity our youth have today. So if both of us try to, if the 2 parties continue in that direction, we are solving a major, and who participate in that process is the youth. So the party got to understand that even though the youth will be on their side to participate, but we have to look at it from a broader perspective to make sure that we solve the problems of the youth, to find jobs for them, to reduce unemployment, to strengthen the educational sector, to do all those kind of things. I think that where they should go. But if I tell you that I know when they're going to stop, I don't ever think that they're going to stop right now, because that battle will always exist. But we just want it in a more suitable environment where we all can exist. Ideas can come out. The person with the best ideas should be able to win. The electorate should be able to look at it and say, yeah, based on what you have done, we think we can elect you to office. So I do believe come 2029, we should start looking at the economy as the benchmark or the litmus test for us to elect the next president, or to elect the next person that will go. A United Party which in the driver's seat is doing well, then we have to give them continuity, that they be able to continue. If they're not doing well and the government and the people feel that who is best, but our concern has to be where we can create jobs. We need somebody, a system that can create jobs to transform our economy. That's what I believe.
And last question, I will go back. One of the caller to Archie Wright put a question about system. And I thought you were going to say we do not have system, but you try to agree that we do have a system. I'm coming on the record that we do not have a system. We have laws, we have order, we have policies, we have all of the above. So all of those things make a system, but we haven't reached the stage that we have a system, because system should flow where everybody knows how to function in a society. We have not reached that point. When you think all of these above that we talk about, laws, order, policies, and all of that will cohesively come together into a system that everybody know what to do, A, B to Z. When we ever reach to a system, like in America, it's a system, whether Democrat leave, Republican leave, there's a system that operates. When will Liberia ever reach to a system?
So, like you said, you're on the record, and I will continue. I will be on the record to say yes, we have passed very good public policies and laws. Some of those laws has been turned into systems, but the problem with the systems that we do have, we do not adhere to our systems that we have. Typical, for example, look at even every system that you built for real. That system needs to be monitored to see how fully it's being implemented, to make sure that the outcome from the any policy that you pass need your outcome. So what come up with that outcome is the system you put in place to produce the outcomes. So to generate that outcomes, you should be able to monitor the outcomes. You should be able to establish indicators that will tell us, say, hey, look, the system or the policy that we pass is being fully implemented. I'll bring you back to the Liberianization policy. I see that the vice president is now advocating that we implement the investment law, the 25% laws. I see that he have gone around places and talking about that. But I think he falls short of one thing. You can go and talk about that. The system is there, the policy is there, but you do not have a monitoring mechanism ensuring that that 25% is fully being implemented. And you reference America. In America, what do they do here? All of the public policies that they pass and system they put in place, they carry a regular performance review, financial management performance review. They carry regular monitoring of the system to see whether those systems are being evaluated and working. And that's what we lack in our country today. You even look at our budget. How many times have we been able to look at our budget and see indicators that can tell us, say, from the monitoring mechanism we put in place, we can easily say, yes, we're creating jobs. When last in our country, we have set up indicators that measure to know how much jobs we're creating every time. How much do we know in our job to know how many new jobs that we have created? We don't have those kind of systems in place. I mean, we don't have that kind of monitoring system in place. Though those systems are there, but they're weak because the monitoring mechanism is not in place. And I think that enforcement mechanism, that's where we need to start looking at to make the system stronger. It's not that we do not have system in our country at all, but we not have monitoring mechanism and enforcement mechanism, making sure that those systems work.
Okay. Thank you, Veteran Smith. Let's go to Mr. Cassell. Mr. Cassell, 2 questions.
Mr. Satu, as an aside, I think you're right about the system, but what we need in Liberia are unassailable institutions. That's where we lack. Our institutions are pretty weak. You can have all the systems that you want, but if the institution cannot stand up on its feet, it can easily be compromised. That is a problem. Let me take you back to one of your articles, your recent articles. And I saw it as an aggressive theoretical timeline expectation versus structural realities. In that article, you said, and I'll quote you, nearly 2.5 years after taking office in 2024, citizens should see measurable results targeting 2029, which we all know is the end of, the broadcast term, for major structural changes like reduced food imports and a growing middle class. And the problem that I had, and I think a lot of other people had, was that economic transformation is multi-decadal. Expecting a massive structural shift, a seismic generational structural shift, such as moving away from raw materials exports, significantly reducing youth employment within a single 5 to 6 year administration. I mean, come on now, that's highly ambitious. And I think it's a bit unfair. While it is fair to, we all want, I like the fact that you were demanding indicators of progress, expecting full macroeconomic transformation by 2029. But that which understates the deep generational bottlenecks inherent in Liberia's economy. I mean, the economy has a problem. So to make that sort of shift in just, 2-3 years, or in 6 years, that's unfair because we have deep-seated infrastructure deficits in areas like power, roads, and other infrastructural areas. So what would you say about that?
Yeah, I think one of my comment, that was brought to my attention in that article, and I want to go directly to that article, and the same question was brought up. I do agree that economic transformation is a long-term process and cannot be measured solely by short-term outcomes. I also acknowledge that improvement in revenue mobilization, fiscal management, institutional mobilization, institutional building, and infrastructure development are important foundations for future growth, as you clearly stated. But my commentary does not suggest that economic transformation has failed. No. Or it just got to happen in 1 to 2 years. It does not even dismiss that the government effort to strengthen public finances. In fact, I specifically recognize the process made in revenue collection.
So what do you mean by citizens should see measurable results targeting 2029?
Okay,
so just help us out trying to figure out what you meant, because okay, I don't want you to contradict yourself.
No problem. I got so that's why I want to go directly, because based on my research, I said ultimately economic transformation is both a process and an outcome. Foundation matters, but so do results. As Liberia move forward to 2029, citizens have a legitimate interest in assessing not only whether the foundations are being laid, but also whether measurable signs of transformation are beginning to emerge. That is my view. And in the conversation worth having, not as a criticism of progress, but has a discussion about how to accelerate that process. That's what I said. So I'm not saying that automatically that when you start building, when you start putting all the foundational things, the intervention in place in year 1, year 2, it will do that. but do we have an established indicator to measure those things when we come to 2029? Because even you are doing a monitoring framework to measure performance of the national budget, you will set up your baselines, right? Oh my God. You will set up your baseline. But your baseline you will start from year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. So by 2029, it will be 6 years. By that time, you should be able to have measurable incomes. Am I right or wrong?
It makes sense, but you didn't make that clear in the article.
It is clear, right? Okay, no problem.
Let's jump to the
and Mr. Cassette,
yes,
I create the commentary has an intent, and the intent was to evoke conversation on how we can start looking at our budget, how we can start measuring outcomes and results based on our budget. Because majority of the time, when the president giving us his annual result, we do not measure outcomes. We do not look, we do not see outcomes, we do not see results. So I think it's about time that once you set up any system or you set up the national budget, which they should start reporting now on outcomes, how many jobs did we deliver, how many days did we deliver. And you and myself in the development world and in government, you know that's the essence of interventions.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Satu, but when we read articles, we don't read articles looking for hidden meanings. But let me just jump you to, and I show you, you've got, you being the analytical person you are, the Liberianization policy. We know that it's just something on paper. Correct. It's been around probably older than you. I think it was either Tauber or Tugma, one of those people came up with that policy many years, many years ago. But so what suggestions would you have in terms of enhancing that policy? What can the government do that the Liberian people will say, okay, this is a just policy? The business community will say, okay, yeah, it makes sense. What can it do? Help me out here.
Oh, good question. It's good that you come back to one of my core component of my advocacy, that the Liberianization policy is a tool to use to empower Liberians and to create jobs for our people. For example, if you look at the national budget, out of the investment law that they passed in the Liberianization policy, setting aside 25% aside, and from ministry, the investment policy that set aside certain businesses for Liberian. In the current budget, over 468 million of that funding is procurement expenditure. Out of that, which is almost 38% of the national budget. If you look at that amount, 25% set aside on that amount will be almost 116 million set aside. So if you implement the Liberianization policy, definitely you will start yielding result, because this will start building.
Yeah, I don't want to bug.
Yeah, this is a lot of people going to come. Yeah.
Can you put yourself on mute?
Oh.
Okay. Sorry, Mr. Satu.
Yeah. So for example, like I said, the 25% would be almost 160 million. So that should be set aside for Liberian businesses. So I was very happy when I heard that the vice president was going through, was making sure to see enforcement. But he, like I said earlier, he fell short. What is needed in Liberia now is that enforcement could also be a tool for job creation in most of our public policies. For example, if you go to the 25%, let's say Liberians cannot, like you don't have Liberian for the certain procurement or certain businesses set aside. Why not look to your diaspora, create synergies that you can bring them in, that can create small businesses, because most of them people in the diaspora have capacity to create business. In fact, some of the small businesses in Liberia are created by Liberian diaspora. Why not use that as an incentive for investment to bring the diaspora in, so we can maximize that 25%? because most of the millionaires that are being created, for example, my brother, if you look at 468 million in procurement services for year 1, year 2, probably budget may be increasing. That's millions of dollars. Who are the people mostly that consume that procurement? Are the foreign people that have businesses that can provide those services. So we're creating more foreign millionaires than creating millionaires for our people. So what we need to start turning around is go back to the liberalization policy and see where we can enforce the law. Enforcement is key to public policy. If you cannot enforce and monitor public policy, you just have it as something on your shelf. And what has been happening to our public policies, they are on the shelf. Most of the foreign companies come, our law say, you look at some of the concession agreement. Some of the concession agreements say, like I look at the Hanniburg concession agreement. It say hire certain jobs there for Liberian people. But in reality, we will find out that different people do that job. How you think you will know about that? Except you put a mechanism in place. Maybe you start creating auditors or inspectors. That can be job that outsource, they monitor and report back to government. That way you will see that we start enforcing some of our public policy. Even our liberalization policy, we put it to effect and we start benefiting our country. We can never create jobs. A Liberian doesn't take ownership of the economy to create small businesses. In America, 60% of the businesses that are created, we call them mom and pop jobs, they are created through small businesses. And I think that's the direction. The vice president is on course, but he need that mechanism to put in place that tools for somebody to set up that tool, and then he'll be able to enforce and monitor if all of our policies is being implemented to the fullest. I think that's the way to go.
Okay. Thank you. Let me jump in there with my question before I go to Mr. Nippet. I want to come back to you on the issue of system and policy, or system versus policy, because as I listen to you, I am continuing to struggle on how to grasp how you're trying to frame the narrative around what the problem lies. Is it systemic or is it policy based? And that's why I came with my previous question. What do you identify as the bottleneck? Because the system is designed such that it gave us an imperial presidency. The president literally, can do whatever he pleases. And the existing policy allows him to do so. So I want to come back again. The example I want to give, a vivid example, is the computer. The computer, we do have the hardware and the software. In my experience, the system is the hardware. The policy is the software upon which it sits on the system to operate. Having said that, can you tell us or tell me, what do you then again identify like a problem to be? Is it systemic or is it based on policy?
Okay, we'll go back. So let me be clear from my research. A policy is a decision, a rule, or law,
Can you
or a strategy, or a course of action adopted by government to achieve a specific objective. That is a policy. Example could be an agricultural policy, educational policy, rural financing policy, industrialization policy, or youth empowerment policy. Policy answers the question, what do we want to do? Then we look at a system. A system is the structure, institution, process, technology, accountability, mechanism, and people that make policy work in practice. Example, tax collection system, public financial management systems. How will we consistently do why this matter? Many countries have good policy on paper, but weak systems for implementation. So there are systems. The systems is there. That institution that you look at the processes. Then you also have the policy. The policy, those are the decisions, the law, the strategy, like I talked about before. That's the difference right there. So you have a system here. Then you have the policy here. When you draft the policy, which are law, the system there to be able to implement the things that you want to carry out. So that's the difference. When you talk about systemic, right? There are certain challenge that there are certain systems that we have systemic issues that continuously it stays the same over. It can never be improved. It just remains to where it is. You cannot bring anything. So the only way you can help those systems, except maybe you want to reform them. That when reform come in, you look at our policy. If it's not working, you put a reform process together and you try to fully implement it and make sure that it progress.
Okay, I'll put that in the context of Liberia. What is the problem? How do you identify that? What is Liberia's problem? What is it? Where do we need to address immediately in order to provide a way forward?
So basically, everything that you do, human capital is the center of everything you do. You need a requisite capacity, and I do believe that.
No, in the context of system and policy, what is it that we need to address now in order to move forward?
What we need to address now, we need to look at all of our policies and system in place, look at them, reform them, and be able to enforce them. Because most of the laws that you think that we have today, we do have good laws on our books. We do have systems, but those systems are not effective. So that we need to revisit those systems and make sure we look at those systems to see, monitor those systems, enforce those systems to make sure that they work. Majority of the things we talked about today exist in Liberia. You can pull out so many different policies that we have in our book. If you go to the poll, tell you, say, yeah, we had this system here in place, but the system not working. So we need to find a way that what you see in America sometimes, they outsource some of those things that you carry out people that do compliance check. You carry out people that do monitoring of the system to see that those systems are working. We need to, the system, all of those things come in place. You work with system before, even where you work, in America, we have different kind of ways you can monitor your different processes. That's why they got process improvement. Then my current stuff that I do right now, I look at quality performance, quality assurance and performance improvement, looking at processes. If those processes are not working, you review them, and those processes are systems. So you have to find a way to have process improvement in place. So we need to put those kind of things in place to reevaluate our processes, to ensure, to enhance them and enforce them.
Thank you. Let's go to Mr. Napier. 2 questions, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benedict Satu. We are having a wonderful evening here with you. Would you agree? Policy draws a roadmap, while system is there to implement that roadmap contingent on the policies. And for the policy and the systems to be successful, you need to have either an integration or a reconciliation to reconcile those elements so that you can have the system to work. Would you agree with that?
You use 2 keywords. You talk about integration and you talk about reconciliation. And in reference to integration, for example, you can look at when you talk about integration, sometimes you talk about integration from the information technology perspective, where you can have an integrated system that provides you with different modules that produces certain outcomes. And you look at reconciliation from the financial management point of view, where you want to make sure that information or financial systems are in sync. So those things have to be evaluated first. And then once you look at those things, the first thing I will always do an assessment and evaluate before you think. And I think integration and reconciliation are also elements of that. your assessment, your needs assessment. So going back to a system, like I said earlier, it's about time that we go back to all of the good systems that we have in public policy that we have in place and see which one is working well, which one need to be reformed, which one need to be enhanced, and then we move forward. You see, we talk about job creation most of the time, but those are some of the things that create a job opportunity. In Liberia, we have a lot of accounting firms and other firms. Those are things that you can outsource as a pet project if we want to make sure that we revisit our policies and procedures in Liberia. Today, for example, I will take you back to the Liberianization policy. If the government is really serious for enforcement, let them outsource that part, with government being the oversight over that process, and see which one of our policy or our systems that are not working. And if you do that, you will see that you will create a lot of opportunities and you will enhance some of the things that are happening in our country. If our system is being sustained and enforced, a lot of great things will happen. Liberia not suffering from systems, we're not suffering from ideas, we're just suffering from making sure to sustain some of the things that we have in place to have continuity and stability in most of the things that we do. That's some of the main problem that we have in our system doesn't work. For every time we reset, when we reset, then we start the system over and we don't even monitor those systems. I think that's where I look at. So when you talk about integration and reconciliation, those are part of the processes to make sure that you revisit the system and to strengthen the systems.
So, if you're talking about the system, you're talking about the totality of the governing system. Because if everything is going to be on a smooth path, you have the policy, you have the system, you have to integrate or reconcile the system, and so that you can have a functionality of the whole. Outside of those key elements that I have mentioned, it will be difficult for good governance to sustain. What are your thoughts?
And you talk about good governance, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
With all the policy, with all the system, we're all integrating or reconciling them. There will be a tough challenge for good governance to sustain. Because you want good governance so that you have a holistic approach, that everything is working in as an engine. Everything is in harmony, is in tune. So if you lock in the good, you got a policy, you say you got a system. If the system is not reconciled or integrated, it is difficult for good governance to sustain. And if and when good governance is sustained, then the society is in a way harmonized and moving. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you 100%. You laid a clear foundation to have an effective system in place. You also laid a foundation for effective systems to be in place, some of the things that you just lay out. And I do believe in that. If we even talk about governance, even when you put governance systems in place, you have to have a mechanism to be able to monitor to see the effectiveness of those systems. And systems are integrated. You talk about integration. What affects one system here also affects the system to another place. So we need to have a harmonized system that is monitored and that is coherent in a way that we can measure it, that to find out whether the system is actually giving us the kind of outcome that we need. So I do agree with you.
All right, then
thank you, Mr. Nippet.
You have answered my questions, and I want to say thank you so much.
All right.
I'm putting it back to you like I used to do to you, right?
The time now is 8 minutes to 12 midnight in Liberia.
Yeah.
The studio has to, how to call it, reset for the next hour. So, Mr. Benedict, let's have you give us your closing remarks. And I don't know, I think let's do this. I'll come to you last. Let's do this very short, guys. I will have to break it to go over. 30 seconds each. or a minute each. I'll do a minute each to just give a closing comment, and we'll have the guests do a last closing, and then we'll close up. Let's do it that way. Let's start with you, Mr. Veteran Smith.
A good show. We look forward tomorrow for another edition of I Beg to Differ.
Thank you, man. This is the first I ever closed. That is great. That is great. All right.
But that's the veteran.
Yeah, Mr. New, what I go to you, sir?
Okay. Thanks to our guest and to the panelists. You know, we didn't fight today, right, Mr. Satu?
That's a good thing.
Okay. But in closing, I mean, you made reference to the GMAP program. GMAP, we wasted millions of dollars on them. They didn't set up any system. They were to set up system that would have moved Liberia to a different page. They didn't do any of those. They were to set a system that would fight corruption. They didn't do those things. So I think we still have to look out for. I think two of our finance ministers said, we should pray. We should pray for a better system. Maybe God will bring us a better system. Because we try all we can try. And it has not worked so far. And that's my closing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nubo. Mr. Cassell?
Yeah, thanks to Mr. Satu. Mr. Satu, as I said before, he's very passionate, a passionate patriot, someone who has his fingers on the pulse of the evolving political and business trends within Liberia with regards to, the Liberian economy. He also understands the contours of the economy very, very well. And, I always keep up to date with his Reader Digest articles. And again, I have to tell him, thanks for coming. And I'm sure that what he did was to educate, our listeners and educate some of us in some areas that, we're not up to date with. So thank you, Mr. Satu. Really appreciate your presence.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cassell. Mr. Nippet?
Well, Mr. Satu, I want to applaud your presence here today and everything that you have said. We need to move Liberia forward. And thank God you still continue the way I interacted with you many years ago. It's been a pleasure having you on the set. We look forward to receiving you whenever you have the opportunity to be with us. It's been a wonderful pleasure. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nippet. Let me go to you, Mr. Satu, for your closing, sir.
I think Mr. Ware want to say, Chris, you want to say something?
No, he's the one that sends it home.
Okay, I just want to say thank you to the show. I think on several occasions, you guys reached out to me. I really didn't have the time, and a couple of times, either this is my second time or third time coming on the show. It is always a pleasure. Like the big brother George said, I think probably he has an experience going back to Liberia to work. I think it was a good experience for him, and so do I. Also, Mr. Nippy and I had the opportunity to really work together in the Washington, D.C. area when I had the Liberian Community Association. I served as president. We worked with him and we brought a lot of things. We did a lot of things together. We were able to bring IE Barrow together. We were able to bring large crowds to the embassy. He did a great job and we worked well together. Even Mr. Cassette. And also to the host, thank you for the way you conduct the program. And just for every one of us, you don't necessarily have to, people would think that, oh, he just want to go do jobs in Liberia. No. Like Cassette said, this is just my passion. I just decided there's one way that I can disseminate things that I learned, some of the institutional knowledge that I have to share. And I think it's incumbent upon every one of us because we need to make our country better. Any way that you can contribute to our country, like what you do. I also want to tell you, thank you to come here all year every night to host this show. It's not something easy, your time. Right now I'm tired. Imagine you that do that thing almost every night. And so hey, kudos to you. That's one good way to contribute to our society. And do also believe that the diaspora still have a serious role to play, even though we're playing our different role in a more fragmented way. But I think it's about time that we come in a more cohesive way that we can be able to help our country move forward. Again, thank you. And I'm hoping whenever I have the time and when you call on me, I hope you guys can go to my Reader Digest at time and take some of those articles and be able to read them on your show. If you have questions, you can be able to tell me. Like what you did today, you're almost like we're on a CNN show where you have a Wall Street article being read and it's being thrown apart and to see how it can benefit your country. The Reader Digest on every month I have close to 65,000. A lot of people wouldn't comment, but on a monthly basis, 65,000 people read that Reader Digest. And like you said, like Cassette said, people dissect it. A lot of people dissect what I write. And it will go by in my inbox. Hey, I think you need to enhance this one. I think you need to provide more details. But on the Facebook, you cannot provide so much details. At times you want to reduce it. So your reading audience, they are basic people. So we got different people to cater to. So that's why you see sometimes we condense, sometimes we keep some of the information off. But hey, it is good to be out here today. And I really enjoyed the conversation. It was civil. I hope the way we had a conversation, our country can begin to have conversation like this in a more harmonized way that we can understand one another and be able to move that beautiful country forward. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Satu. Now, Mr. Ware, can you please send us home, sir? You're muted. Mr. Webb, you're muted, sir. Mr. Webb, you're muted, sir.
Yeah. Thanks. Let me say thanks to Mr. Satu for the excellent education provided. And this education reminds the people of Liberia that we really need to call for reconciliation. Yeah, many of the callers were talking about that. And let's put the party issue aside and build Liberia. So I'd like to say thanks so much for the education, Mr. Nemo. I'd like to say thank you, Mr. Nippin, Fred the Veteran Smith, and also Mr. Cassette. I'd like to say thanks to every one of you and our listeners out there. This is a bed to differ. We'd like to say thank always for following. Your calls is very important to the discussion. I'd like to say thanks so much. Have a great time. Bye-bye. We are out for now.
Thank you. See you guys tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Satu. Bye-bye. Thank you, Mr. Satu. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Satu. Bye-bye. Bye.
TOP FM